What's up, you guys? It's Levi here. Welcome to another edition of the Cybersecurity Education Channel. Holy smokers, guys. It's been another month. It's been another wave of phishing attack. Last month I did a video on new phishing attacks. You can check out that video up here. You guys like that so much that I'm going to do a video on 3 more phishing attacks this month. And then most importantly, I'm going to be talking about what you guys can do to help protect yourselves so that you do not become a fish in those phishing attacks. If you're new to this channel, go ahead and click that subscribe button and smash that like button so that this channel will get promoted more, so that I can help out other people with my content and make the world a better and safer place. For those of you that don't know what phishing is, I'm going to give a brief example real quick before I move on to the stories. Alright, so what is phishing? Basically, you have the fisherman up here, who we also like to call the hacker. He throws out a line, which in this case will be the email. You down here get this email, and you can either become a caught fish or you can become a free fish. As long as you don't click a link, as long as you don't open an attachment, as long as you ignore the email, you'll be fine. You'll just keep floating away and you'll be safe. But as soon as you click on a link or you click on an attachment, because the email was very enticing to you and it looked interesting, you'll be caught. This fisherman will be extremely happy, and then this fisherman will use that bait that he has set down here, which I forgot to draw the bait. We gotta have bait, right? This nice looking worm here. I'm a great artist. But by catching that bait, you can have fraud committed against you. That fisherman can put malware on your computer, and he can get into your computer and steal files off of your computer. He can take your files for ransom so that you have to pay to get access to your data, and he can commit fraud against you. So you don't want this situation to happen. So by watching this video, you'll be able to learn from these new situations that are happening and be able to protect yourself in the future. All of these clips and emails that I'm showing are coming from bleepingcomputer.com. I'll post a link down below in the description so that if you guys want to read into those articles more, you can see them. All right, so the first case is a new audio note received email. So as you can see, it's an email that's it's trying to say that you got a new audio note and that it wants you to click and open it up. So when you go ahead and click and open it up, because it seems pretty interesting. You want to know why did I get this audio note? What's in there? Is it an emergency or what? So you click the link here, and then you get redirected to a OneNote page that is a legit OneNote page, but the owner itself isn't legit. But you don't know that at the time. You see that you have to click again to get to another page. You click on that listen to full message here, and then boom, you get hit with a Microsoft login page, and you mindlessly aren't thinking, and you just go ahead and sign in there because you really want to see this audio note, right? Well, it turns out that this Microsoft page was fake. And that person got your credentials, and they could be able to sign into your account, especially if you don't have multi-factor authentication turned on. So your Microsoft account could be compromised now, and yeah, it could be a crappy day for you. So what can you do to protect yourself in this situation? All right, so the first thing, going back to that first email, the first thing is, who is this email from? Is it from somebody you're used to getting emails from in this situation, or organizations you're used to getting emails from? If not, then that should be the first red flag in your head. Hey, I don't recognize this. All right, number 2, is this a type of email that you normally get when you're trying to get a voicemail or something like that? If this isn't something that you normally get, boom, a red flag should be popping up in your head. And then the number 3 thing in this situation that you should be looking for is, and this should be the case on any email, anytime you get a link in the email, you want to hover over the link and make sure and check to see where the email is actually going. In this situation, you would have saw that it was going to a SharePoint website. You can tell that by the my.sharepoint.com and the link at the end of there. But it's going to news-mysharepoint.com or newsapp-mysharepoint.com. which may or may not throw a red flag. For me it would, but I can understand why it wouldn't throw a red flag for the average person. If you see mysharepoint.com, usually that's a legit SharePoint website, right? So those are kind of the three main things to look for in this email. And then one thing I want to bring up before continuing on is if you see something like in this email where it says the email is scanned by McAfee Ultimate 2019 antivirus scanning service from Microsoft, that was just thrown in there to trick you guys. It was a social engineering technique so that you guys would believe that this email was safe. Don't disregard that stuff when you see that in email. Just because an email says it's safe doesn't mean it's actually safe. Anybody can throw anything they want that says that, so ignore that stuff. Alright, so continuing on, you click on the link. You didn't realize that this wasn't a legit email. Okay, so going down, we get to this OneNote website. You got to ask yourself, doesn't this seem a little bit suspicious that you have to click on a link again? Also, this doesn't look very professional, does it? Like, if I was going to have to click on a voicemail link, I would expect to go to a more professional looking site than this. So I think that's the biggest red flag that you should look for here. Alright, so you click on the link, boom, you get a login page. And it's very legit looking. I can see why people would fall for this. But every time you get prompted for a login link, you should really question why you have to log in. Do you have voicemails that are normally on Microsoft? If not, then why would you need to log into Microsoft for? That should be a red flag in your head, right? But this page is pretty legit, and you might not be thinking about that. And so another way that you can help yourself is if you look at the address bar up here, the end of the address says windows.net, which means that it's a website that was created by somebody else that's using Microsoft to host the website. Microsoft doesn't actually own that website. It's a third party that owns that website. And you can tell by that windows.net domain. If you see windows.net and you see any type of login page or any type of page that wants you to fill in information that you don't want it, that you wouldn't normally give out, that windows.net is your key there. You should be looking for that when you're going to sign-in pages going to Microsoft sign-in pages. To make sure that you're going to a legit Microsoft sign-in page, that domain is going to consist of one of the following: Microsoft.com, Live.com, MicrosoftOnline.com, and Outlook.com. If there's any other domain in that address bar and you have a Microsoft login, it is not legit, it's fake. Close out of the page, don't enter your information, don't enter your password, and move on. Those are the biggest ways that you can tell on a page like this that looks super legit and you cannot tell that it's fake. Look up in that address bar and look for those domains. Alright, so the number 2 phishing case in July of 2019 that we're going to be talking about is a fake engineering test email. Alright, so basically this email got sent out to a bunch of utility companies in the United States, and you can see that it looks very, very legit. It's basically trying to convince the engineers that at these sites that they failed their licensing exam and they need to click on the attachment to be able to see what their results were so that they can proceed to retake the test again. And then by clicking on this attachment, it actually downloads malware to their computer that can basically overtake their computer, and the attacker can do whatever they want on their system. In a utilities environment, you can only imagine how many terrible things can happen by doing this. One thing that could happen is that person could get into that system and then they could spread that malware to other systems in the network, and then they could use that malware to take down the whole utilities network or control a utility and take that down and potentially take out power for citizens, take out water for citizens, or do terrible things to the water and power supply. So yeah, this is not a good situation. So what can you guys learn from this situation? Obviously, the first thing that you can look for in this situation, or the first thing that should raise a red flag, is does this test even apply to you? Did you even take this test? If the test doesn't apply to you or you didn't take this test, then it should automatically be let's ignore this email. It should be a red flag and get rid of this email and report it. The second thing, if you did take this test, does the ID and the exam date even match your ID and exam date? If it doesn't, it's probably not legit either. The third thing to take into account in this email to help protect yourself is it's got an attachment from an external source. You should always be very, very suspicious of attachments, especially from an external source. If it's an internal source, you still want to be suspicious because it could be somebody pretending to be somebody internally. If it's an email that you're not expecting from that person, you might want to call and verify with that person that they actually meant to send that email, or that it was them sending it. If it's an external email, I would really try to avoid clicking on attachments if at all possible. Most professional licensing sites, you should be able to call them up and verify. Otherwise, you can go to their website directly and be able to look up your licensing results. I would highly, highly discourage clicking on any external attachments unless you absolutely know that you're supposed to be getting it. Training site that I use, CompTIA, for my security certifications, I can go to their website and log in and be able to see if I passed or not. I highly suggest doing something like that. And then the fourth thing that you can take from this situation, the address was nceess.com, which ended up not being the actual accrediting agency's website. Basically, the organization tried to copy their website to make it look legit, since the group stands for U.S. National Council of Examiners for Engineering and Surveying. When you abbreviate that out and send it as an email, it looks pretty legit. But if those people had known that, hey, that's not their actual email address at ncess.com, that would have been a red flag too. So that's something to look for too. The sending address, whether it's even a legit address of the group that is representing this email. And then finally, one more point that I want to make to you guys is, I know this is specifically targeted at engineers that work in utility companies, but this can really happen to anybody that's in a professional group. This email can be changed so that it applies to accountants that are doing their CPA exam, people that are in law school that are trying to take their bar test. This email can happen to you if you're in a professional organization trying to take a test as well. So just try to think about what can be done to you in those situations and follow the tips that I gave previously to help protect yourself. All right, so the third phishing case I'm going to be talking about is unsubscribe emails that you get. So basically, there's these groups that are sending out emails that just say confirm your unsubscribe request. It doesn't tell you what for or anything like that. Here's another one that looks super unprofessional. It looks like a 90s email or something. And then basically what happens when you click on these unsubscribe me buttons, it tries to send an email out to 15 or 20 contacts. Security experts aren't quite sure what happens once you do that, but they're thinking that you're being added to a hot list. So your account is active because you responded back. Then they can send more phishing emails back to you. And because you clicked on the first phishing email, you're more than likely going to fall for the other phishing emails that they sent that will likely have malware or try to redirect you to a site to get you to log in and to steal your account. The number one thing that you can learn from this situation is you don't know what the unsubscribe request is even for. Ideally, if you're going to have an unsubscribe request, the place should tell you what it's for. If you don't know what it's for, why even bother clicking on it? The number two thing, hover over that link and see where it's even going. If it's going to a place that you don't recognize, then don't click on it. The number three thing, where is this email coming from? Is it some garbage address, or is it an address that makes sense? And then another thing to think about is most of the time when you get emails where you want to unsubscribe, usually it has like a newsletter or something built into it, and it has an unsubscribe down at the bottom of the email. You got to ask yourself, why would you get an email to unsubscribe? That doesn't seem normal. People that send you info mail want you to keep getting the info mail because it sells their product. Who wants you to unsubscribe from something? So just the logic of that is another thing to think about. And then, you know, the title in the second email, like, this doesn't look very well, the email itself doesn't look very professional looking at all. But if you look at the title, it just looks like complete trash. Like, it looks like junk mail to me. Like, I would just delete this. And then the bottom part inside of there, it's all blue and unprofessional looking. It looks like something that was made in the 90s, which is another hint that you can take away to protect yourself. And then the next thing, like if you see an email opening up with a bunch of contacts, after you click unsubscribe, like that should give you a red flag in your head. Like why the heck does this need to email 15 different people? Anytime that you get an email address where you click on a link and it opens up an email to email more people, I would be really suspicious. I would close out of that email that it's trying to send. Don't send it, because likely it's something scammy and fishy. So I think the biggest thing to learn in this specific case is this is very, very unnormal behavior. You got to ask yourself, well, what's the incentive for this person having you unsubscribe? Normally newsletters and stuff like that, they want you to subscribe. Who wants you to unsubscribe? So just thinking that logic, and that will really get you past this situation. I've had this email sent to me myself. Luckily, I ignored it. All right, so I hope you guys learned a lot from these situations. I think the biggest thing that you can learn from all of these situations is just as you're going through your emails, slow down. Take an extra 2 seconds or however long it takes. Don't just mindlessly go through emails. You got to start thinking on every single email that you get. Always look at who's sending it. Hover over links that are inside of the email. If the email is unprofessional looking, it's probably not legit. If you're not expecting an email, it's likely not legit. If it has an attachment and you're not expecting it, there's a good chance it's not legit there. And if the email is trying to scare you into doing something, it's probably not legit either. So always have your mind thinking when you're looking through emails. You don't want to be the fish that eats the bait. You want to be the fish that's swimming away, going free. Hope you guys really enjoyed this content. Thank you for watching, guys, and have a great day.